All right, today we're diving deep into one of the most pressing concerns of our digital age, which is cybersecurity. Businessmen, you can say individuals, are becoming more interconnected online, so the importance of safeguarding our data has never been greater. And for this discussion, I welcome you, our guest, Danny Kim, the founder of Full Armour and Cyber Armour. I want to say thank you very much, Danny, for joining me. Firstly, we want to talk about Full Armour and Cyber Armour. How did you start focusing on cybersecurity, and how did this journey leading to the growth of Full Armour and Cyber Armour?
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I just want to also thank the Asian Institute of Insurance that actually has invited me here to talk about this subject, both also to your corporate customers in Malaysia. That's a great question because I actually started when I was in high school.
Wow, quite early.
Quite early, but actually I was into gaming.
Okay.
Back then it was like video arcade gaming.
That was the kickstart.
That was a kickstart. But then I got into coding, and then I kind of got bored of creating games. And so I started getting into hacking into copying copyrighted games. And maybe I shouldn't say this online, but...
Okay,
but,
on TV.
On TV, online on TV.
But this is your past
it actually got
experience.
me interested because the whole field of even back then, cybersecurity, copy protection, breaking protection elements was challenging. And so as I started doing that, I started to learn how to defend against it. And then that propelled me into the career of computer science, into college. And then I met my college roommates that had the same kind of passion for starting ethical businesses. And so that's kind of where we started. We started in college in 1987, the Full Armour Corporation, and we started closing customers one at a time from there.
I mean, it's not easy to starting with your probably housemate, right? The roommate. And then because starting at an early age, you know, you have to understand the whole ecosystem, the landscape, the challenges, the threat, and even opportunities. Within the cybersecurity industry, what was the biggest challenge you have faced? You know,
as cybersecurity, so we started back 38 years ago. So if you can imagine, things were a lot simpler back then. You have computers and maybe they're connected. As the economy and the global interconnectedness grew, the complexity of trying to keep your environment secure becomes exponentially difficult. And so now we're working with the largest companies in the world, you know, the Walmart, Boeing, Bank of Americas of the world, and even the US government. And now it's a cat and mouse game, and we're trying to keep up from the cyber criminals. And it's a real challenge because they're using the latest technologies and advancements to hack into our systems. Wow. And even with AI, they're using AI, and we're trying to help now defend using AI. So it's a constant battle. But that's also from a personal standpoint why I'm so interested in this field, because it never gets boring.
Previously, before the interview start, you shared with me you start almost Full Armour around 38 years.
Yes.
It's almost 40 years. How do you see the landscape of ecosystem of cybersecurity has evolved, other than you see the growth of where cyber criminals are using AI, where AI is used for us to for efficiency work, but now they're using that probably along the journey. How do you see it has evolved in cybersecurity?
Yeah. That's a great question because I joke that even if I take vacation for like a few months, I'm already behind. This is how quickly the cyber landscape is changing. One particular example is I actually attended a US Cybercom conference. This is an internal conference of US cyber military personnel, and I was one of the few civilians invited to attend. And the head of the NSA and the head of the US Cybercom said this. They said 5 years ago, our whole cybersecurity defense mechanism was, can we block the enemy at the gate? Right? Firewalls, VPNs, gateways, you know, all the things that every corporations know and utilize to defend. He said today, it's trying to figure out how much of our enemy is already inside our network.
Okay, that is one of the hardest part.
That's the hardest part because now you have to change the way you view cybersecurity. We're not saying stop using the firewalls and gateways and whatnot, but it's a different tactics because now, as everybody knows, and if I talk to almost every cybersecurity professionals I talk to, they nod their heads. It's kind of a, maybe I shouldn't be exposing all of this, but it's a kind of an uncomfortable secret. People know, and you kind of, I think we know on the consumer level because we see all of these hacks coming constantly from major companies. The threat actors are already inside your network. And U.S. government and others are all now constantly trying to battle. How do we protect the assets and information that we have? And so,
especially when they're in already our server.
well, it's an uncomfortable feeling, Nina. If, let's say I tell you, you in your house, you have your doors locked and your windows locked and you have your gate and whatnot. But if I come and tell you, Nina, you know the thieves are already inside your house.
I'll get more scared.
Yes.
Yes. I need more probably protection, a bigger, stronger protection.
Or different way of protecting
Okay.
and hiding your assets, being able to, there's a different approach to cybersecurity. And so that's actually where, and to be on the positive side, there are innovations being done in cybersecurity. But one of the things, and maybe it's my personal mission, because I know kind of the dirty secrets of how vulnerable we really are, I'm doing part of the education, is to let people know that, one, we are very vulnerable to now this new threat of cyber attacks and a new generation of cyber attack methods that have already here, that are already come in. And we need to create and look at new ways of defending.
Talking about vulnerability, if to recap your answer, it's not easy. Usually you have to prevent cybersecurity at the front of the gate. But now, what kind of approach if they're already inside our gate?
Yeah.
So that is something that we have to look at. Talking about vulnerabilities, what are some of the probably vulnerabilities the organization overlook when securing their cloud or data center infrastructure?
Well, there's multiple ways of approaching cybersecurity. The first one is actually training your employees.
Okay.
Believe it or not, the number one way your corporations get exposed is through the employees and the lack of knowledge, security knowledge. So training, awareness, good security practices, password policies, recognizing phishing attacks and all those things. Actually, without naming names, there was one company that gave me the actual data. There was a hospital system in the US that told me that this is from the CISO of the hospital system. They said they did a test, a test to see how many of their own employees, doctors and nurses and whatnot, would fall for a phishing attack where they sent emails and said that, hey, you need to reset your password, right? Because it's, something happened to your personal thing, and then and people, they wanted to find out how many people would go online to an obscure website and actually enter their username and password. And 40% responded and put their username and password in it.
Oh
so then they went through and did all this training, internal training. Hey, don't do this, look out for this. And then they did the whole simulated attack again. Do you know how many percent went back on?
70, I assume?
They got a little bit better, 25%.
Okay, sorry, 25.
Yeah. So you can't change human nature to some degree. And these are professionals, these are doctors and whatnot. That's indicative of the type of open potential of training that's needed at the company level. And then you go into the actual IT.
Okay.
There's a lot of basic stuff that people aren't that needs to be done, from policy, compliance management, securing the network. So all the basic stuff, just like you would do in the house. Hey, before you go on vacation or secure, make sure your windows are closed, your front door is locked, and things like that. So those are the basic stuff that we all need to do. And then the companies that are more advanced are going deeper, right? As I told you, you're in this house, and the people who know what's going on, they know the thieves are already inside. So what do? There's now a new set of technologies called EDR, XDR, that's trying to detect. There's a lot of people going in and out of your house, let's say. You're trying to detect which one is a thief and which one is a guest, right? So it's a constant battle. But what companies need to realize is that this is very critical. But this affects your business, because it could affect, if you go to a company and they get breached and all your personal data stolen, you may want to go to a competitor because maybe they're more secure.
True, correct. Other than we can see Full Armour, Cyber Armour is providing the service to protect them in the era full of cybersecurity threats. It's not easy. Probably we need help and support and protection from the law enforcement as well.
Yeah.
So maybe how could businesses and even governments approach cybersecurity regulation to balance not only security but also innovation?
I think one of the advances in regulation, and the US has enacted this recently as well, and I see other countries enacting the similar thing, is one, mandatory board education. We need the board to support the expansion and utilization of the latest technologies. You can't kind of use the same tools you used 5 years ago and expect that the thieves haven't already found a way around it. So it's an investment. But for the boards and senior leaders, they need to understand it's an investment in the security and the business continuity of their company. So that's one. So there's mandated board education and senior leadership education. And then recently, there's been policies enacted to compel companies to report cyber breaches, right? Before it was actually done on a voluntary basis. In the US, it has become law. So if you're a public company, you could face jail time if you don't report your cyber incidences and you don't recover or do forensics on your breach. That's and I believe even in Southeast Asia, other countries are enacting and have started looking at those type of laws. That's actually a positive for the consumer, because we want to know, and you want to use the services and companies that actually have invested in cybersecurity and are secure. And even when you're breached, which is not a bad thing in the sense that everybody's breached, you're going into this mode of, you know what, if we're breached, we know what to do, and we know we have to be responsible to being able to respond to that.
And we can see that even in US they have law, and we can see based on the company, if your company is at US, but we can see US one of the advanced company, so probably they have more funding, more costs, and more resources.
Yes.
But we know cyber threat is for everybody. Not we're wishing for everybody, but
yes,
it doesn't matter where you are. If you're advanced or emerging economy, everybody can receive the threats that they don't want. So probably what can emerging economies like Malaysia or other ASEAN countries can learn from advanced economy as they have more resources, funded costs to learn and adapt the best practices towards cybersecurity.
Yeah, actually one of the things that I've seen people do as best practices but actually not practice the best practice, and one of the areas that I see is really lacking that could really help corporations significantly. And by the way, in the US, yes, there's a little better preparedness and awareness. But if you think about cyber hackers and cyber criminals, they don't care what country you're from.
No.
Right? And to be honest, they're going to attack countries or environments that have lots of assets that they can steal, that have low cyber resilience and cyber knowledge. And so to some degree, sometimes they're bypassing US companies and saying, let me go to developing countries that actually have brought in lots of business, Malaysia being one. You guys are booming and growing. You're bringing in international global companies. Great. That's an awesome thing for your economy. But it's also, and I'll tell you from a cyber criminal standpoint, that's an ideal target
it's
area.
opportunity for the criminal as well.
Exactly. You have things that I want, and your awareness and preparedness is not as high as maybe some of the other countries. Now, what can you do to help mitigate that? One of the things that I recommend when I do my board briefing is you need to have already a set of plans. You need to plan for an attack and write down and be able to create a cyber response mechanism to what will happen. Because if you don't plan, then you don't know what to do.
True.
Problem is now, everybody's done this plan, right? But just like, let's say, I don't know if you remember when you were in high school, and you used to go through fire drills, right? Why do we do fire drills in schools?
Safety. Safety,
but also because when it happens, you know what to do. You don't have to go through, oh, there's a fire drill plan. Let me bring the fire drill plan out. Let's go step by step. You don't do that, right?
No.
When you do a fire drill, it's so that you practice, and so that when the incident happens, you know exactly what to do. And everybody collectively knows what to do, right? You need to go to this station, follow this teacher, whatever. Here's the problem, and I think 90% of companies in the world, not just Malaysia or Southeast Asia, don't do this. They'll put a great cybersecurity incident response plan together. They'll never practice it.
True.
It'll be stored in the next to the company handbook, right? And look this up when an incident happens. It is completely against logic because the frequency of cyber incidents is only increasing. If you haven't been breached already, you may not even know it. Because sometimes a lot of the breaches happen. They'll steal your information, put it on the dark web or sell it, and you don't ever even know. So learning how to respond to cyber incidences and then practicing it. This is what's called war room experience, right? Very few company does it. So one of the things that I'm actually bringing in with the Asian Institute of Insurance is actually we're creating and we're going to be deploying war room experiences.
Oh, wow.
So you get to go in, sit in a conference room, and in an hour session, depending on industries that you want to look at, we'll actually recreate an actual cyber incident. And you will go through it with other people in the war room to understand what it means to go through a cyber incident and also be able to respond to it. And that's really one of the missing pieces I see in the industry today.
And that is a very important aspect that we should take a look at, because this is also some of the lessons that companies should learn. One of the most significant security breaches probably of the last decade. But as you mentioned in the middle of our conversation, that probably if you go on a holiday for a few months and then you look at the back, and then some criminal changes have different approach, and then cybersecurity also need to probably customize their practices or to respond toward the criminal attacks. And from all of this, maybe you can talking about the ethical business of cybersecurity, because we understand that how can we address ethical concern in cybersecurity as if regarding surveillance, data privacy, and government regulation, because given the resilience of cloud computing.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity is one of those things where a lot of your data information that's critical is exposed now to the world, because there's very few companies I know that is not connected to the internet and connected to somehow the data being accessible, right? The biggest problem also that we see in the industry today is you're not in an operation that operates alone. You are actually interfacing with third-party suppliers, other corporations, partner organizations. And so it's not just securing your own environment. You have to trust the partners that come in, right? And so a lot of the recommendations that I also give is how to vet out and certify the trustworthiness of your partner companies. Because if you look at some of the more famous breaches that have happened, a lot of them are coming through third-party vendors, right? A company like Home Depot or Target would actually be completely secure, and then their HVAC vendor gets hacked. And they come in through a back door. So it doesn't matter how secure you are, you have to also vet out and secure the partners that you work with. And so there are standards you want to have other partners adhere to. So hey, if I was a vendor wanting to work with you, you should require that I display the type of security protocols and standards that I'm meeting, because I may be a backdoor into your corporations. So you want to make sure you trust. It's the same thing. You don't want to bring people into your house that are strangers that you haven't vetted out, right? Because who knows? Maybe somebody says, I'm Danny Kim, but I'm pretending to be Danny Kim. I come in and I steal your stuff, or maybe hide in your house. So you want to make sure that you vet out the people that you let into your corporate environment.
And we don't want that to happen in almost 40 years within the industry. Maybe you can share with us, what's your outlook for the cybersecurity industry? Probably we cannot say in 5-10 years, because you say even a few months, if you're gone for a few months, things are going to change very fast. But maybe you can tell us what's the future like for cybersecurity? Okay,
that's a great question, because I have a great answer for that. Cybersecurity, if you look at actually, in most forecasts, actually just for the forecast for this year, they're expecting $10.5 trillion in losses due to cybercrime. Okay. Wow. Now, let's say you don't believe that figure, it's maybe a little bit off. Let's say it's even 50% off. That's $5 trillion in losses, even if I'm 50% off. Wow. So the industry is reeling from this type of crime, and it's growing by 15-20% every year. So I actually tell all my friends who have kids who are looking into going to different careers, I said, there's only two careers that will never go away. Medicine, because everybody's going to get sick and die, and cybersecurity, because we're only going to get more hacked and more hackers are going to look for vulnerabilities to get in. So the outlook for this industry in a negative, positive way is that the threat of cybersecurity is only increasing as we become more and more interconnected, as new technologies like AI enter the field that makes it easier for cybersecurity hackers to come in. We need to be utilizing those new technologies to defend against it. So if you want the outlook, it's only going to get worse, but also it's a market opportunity, right? We have worldwide probably 3 million or more unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs. It's a huge, in the US alone, we're looking at 200,000 to 300,000 unfulfilled. And actually the US government deems that a point of national threat because we don't have enough cybersecurity professionals defending. They believe it's a ratio for every cybersecurity professional defending the US government. There's 50 hackers trying to break in.
Well, we need the talent and the skills in cybersecurity because
so it's not just the talent, the skill set of training your own employees and your IT staff, but from a country standpoint, it's educating the next generation of young adults and professionals to go into this field. And so again, I could tell you 20 years from now, I'll still be employed. I'll still be doing everything I want to do in this space because it'll only become more expansive and there'll be more newer ways of attacking this type of environment. Okay. And so again, the market outlook is always going to be there's a cybersecurity need and that need is only going to grow. It's
going to become more dynamic. Probably my last question, you as the CEO and founder of a cybersecurity company, what's your advice towards the board and C-suite executive on cybersecurity policy, especially not the board or C-suites, not from the cybersecurity industry?
I would say get educated.
Simple.
That's the only way. When I do my board briefings, they come out shocked because they're not being told everything. And it's kind of business as usual. I would say, at the very least, even bring outside consultants in that have experience in the trending of cybersecurity, because you can't keep doing things status quo. It's not working. The industry is telling us this. Even when I talk to the heads of the FBI in the US, the cyber threats are increasing at an alarming rate. And so corporations need to understand and be educated in what are the different methods and threat vectors that are coming in today, so they're prepared, right? It's not a dire warning. It's just understand that it's not the same mechanism to protect your white fence and the lock at the front door. It's not working anymore.
And we understand from this whole conversation that cyber threat is going to get increased and it's going to be more complex and more dynamic. Hence, individual, company, business, organization, law enforcement have to be ready to respond and address any attacks that we will receive from.
Yes.
Again, I would say thank you very much to founder and CEO of Full Armour and Cyber Armour, Danny Kim. Hope to see you again. And for all of the discussion will be featured in AstroAwani.com and across all social media.